How are you? How's it going? Let's start with the news about what's happening around the world. What's happening in the ocean in the Gulf of Mexico? What's also happening in China in the Ocean of China? Several strange things. Also, what's happening with the issue of Iran? Donald Trump says that the United States doesn't need an agreement with Iran. Now, it turns out that's not the case after all. President Zelensky also publishes an open letter with Putin, but Putin has already reacted. Well, let's get into the details. The State Department also issues a warning notice for several countries in the Middle East. It's also quite an interesting topic. What's obviously happening in the world, what's happening in Lebanon, in Israel, and of course, what's happening, well, even the issue of what's happening in Cuba, right? About what's happening with Ebola. Well, a lot of things are going on. By the way, there's another case now. More infections are being reported in another country as well, not just in Congo. Let's get to the details, to the information. Thank you for sharing, for liking. Astrid is here. How are you?
How are you all? Here we are with the latest of what's happening in the world. So get ready with your coffee, your popcorn, or your Pepsi. Black, I don't know what you drink. Great, so let's go.
And look, we're starting with this image. I don't know if we're going to put it on the screen. There you go. There it is. Well, it's a strange topic for the Chinese. They've detected a structure in the sea. This is in China, in the South China Sea, but suddenly the object just disappears. And in the South China Sea, but suddenly it just disappears. The mysterious object, it appeared and disappeared in the Mislok Shoal, also known as the Escarbog Atoll. This was between May 27 and June 1, according to satellite images published by Reuters. The discovery happened on the same days that the Coast Guard and the Philippines were conducting a patrol in the area. That obviously raises alarms about what is happening in the South Sea, the South China Sea. In the Philippines, an investigation would have already been announced in response to these reports, and the Secretary of Defense, Gilberto Teodoro, from that country would have already started talks with Sri Lanka. In the background, the Singapore Regional Security Forum, which they say received details that still need investigation, details of information about an alleged rather large structure on the atoll. But it was seen from the same satellite. Obviously, this is concerning. Taking over the National Security Council that has been designated, so that obviously they are the ones leading the investigation. The company or the satellite company that captures it is called Bantor. It would have captured images on the 27th, then on the 29th, and then on May 30th that showed a floating object. Apparently, on June 1st, it was no longer visible. The first is when the structure simply disappears. What's going on? What is it? What do you think is happening? How is the situation?
What they analyzed yesterday, Tuesday nights. It's just that looking at the monitoring linked to Stanford University. Well, they publish these images and say there's a small reflective object, clearly distinguishable from a reef platform, meaning it's something that's not part of nature, and it's approaching the entrance of the lagoon. This object measures at least 10 meters in diameter in an image from June 1st, but it was no longer visible, as you mentioned. And the USCGS Coast Guard that operated alongside the BRP Melchor Alquino in the first joint patrol of this type in the waters of the atoll. According to Sea Light, and the ships positioned themselves between 35 to 40 nautical miles from the enclave. The Philippine military reports having tracked 82 Chinese vessels from the Coast Guard and Navy within its exclusive economic zone in May, and 39 in the vicinity of the atoll.
Well, this is, as I was saying, in the South China Sea, which is shared by the Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia, and many other countries, obviously along with China. And well, there is a dispute over several atolls, several islands, some islands that China has created in order to claim territory, a topic that is quite well known.
Exactly. In fact, they mentioned this precedent they have according to a Filipino analyst. It's called Mischief Reef, which in 1994 China built on that reef in the Spratly Islands within the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. And that structure served as a shelter for fishermen. 3 decades later, this enclave now already has a runway, hangars, radar, and surface-to-air missiles. So the Philippines says it will not allow China to militarize Scarborough Shoal again. So is it going to be the same move that was already made in 2024?
Of course, of course, of course. Well, that's how things are, right? Let's move on to other important topics about what's happening in the world. But in China, well, something is brewing there, right? They're moving something. What could it be? What is that structure? You start to wonder if it has to do with a submarine, if it has to do with something else. I don't know. But the point is that it was detected in the area and then it just suddenly disappears. Obviously, that's something concerning. Also, another image that stands out today, it's this image of Donald Trump taking a little nap right in the middle of a meeting, catching a quick snooze there, right? Let's play the audio. Sorry.
For too long of a job, an economy, a community, a family, and for too long.
Well, the thing is that he falls asleep, but before that, he's a little more active. Let's hear what he says here.
I want to meet, but if I did meet, I'd be with the Supreme Leader.
I don't want to meet, but if I did meet, I'd be honored to meet him.
The audio is very low, but the point is that they're asking him if he thinks it's possible that Epic Fury, I mean Operation Epic Fury, would have eliminated the father of this Mokhtar Khamenei, that is, the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. He assures, look, in that attack his father died, Ali Khamenei's wife died, and a Mokhtar died. Sorry, Mokhtar's wife, Mokhtar's son as well, by the way. I mean, part of his closest family died. And they say, I mean, do you really think he would want to talk to you? Of course, do you really think he would want to meet with you? And Trump says at one point, well, I think he would be professional. What? What are we talking about? I mean, obviously, just imagine the level of resentment that Mokhtar Khamenei might have at this moment. Oh. And what Trump has to come out and say to apparently try to calm things down a bit. Well, I suppose it's because of the World Cup, right? That's my idea. Because I really can't explain it any other way. I mean, there's no other way to try to understand why they're using such a strange strategy, right? He wants to show good vibes. He wants to meet Ayatollah. He says Ayatollah seems like a good person, says Trump. He says, I would say I'm not his favorite person. But having said that, he's probably a professional. I don't know him. He's probably a professional in some circles. He actually has a very good reputation, you know? Sometimes when people say bad things, but a lot of the things they say about me are totally false. And he already went off in another direction, right? He totally went off topic. But well, now after saying and accusing Moctava and his daughter Minei and everyone of, well, getting rid of people who were protesting against them, now it turns out that maybe he's a good person. How things change, right? Honestly, it's incredible. And also, well, this image is shown. What's going on there?
Here we can see how they're boarding an interception vessel. An interception? An interception, well, interception is just for airplanes, yes. But well, also, well, in this case, today a ship was detained, the Kafka, which is suspected of being involved in the illegal export of Ukrainian goods from temporarily occupied territories, which is something Russia does a lot. And well, the decision was made after an international legal assistance request from the Office of the Prosecutor General of Ukraine.
Well, that's how things stand. Okay. Sometimes they just intercept, check, and leave. Other times, like the recent France oil tanker case, it's different. Exactly. It's an interception. And then, well, they end up keeping the ship, right? It's an issue that really bothered the Kremlin. Another image that has surprised people is this one. This is in Mexico City, where people are reporting on social media that the floods have been hitting hard, according to what they're saying. Over there, well, basically on social media, right? That's what they've been reporting, heavy rains in Mexico City. Pay attention, because in much of the central, southern, and even northeastern parts of the country, it's going to be raining quite heavily in the coming days. The rains will keep going here too, as we're seeing now.
Here we're watching a video of an attack carried out by Ukraine on a corvette from the Russian Baltic Fleet, the Boyki, in Kronstadt. This is from the day of the attacks that have been happening in recent days.
Well, that's how things stand on this quite interesting topic. Let's move on to other important matters. Well, speaking of strange things, take a look at what's happening in the sea, right? There's a topic that's drawing attention today where they mention something like a blup, right? One thing that really stands out is a type of phenomenon, a kind of storm, let's say, that's being reported in the Gulf of Mexico, and that has what they call an ominous patch or bup. That's why today it's like the sea sends signals everywhere. On one hand, with this issue about China, but on the other hand, the weather situation is interesting too. What's happening? What is AccuWeather reporting? And well, even they themselves had already warned that some pretty intense phenomena were going to be forming.
Exactly. Meteorologists have just issued a warning because in the Gulf of Mexico, there's a huge area of storms. And this storm system is developing. It's getting closer to Florida. But meteorologists say that obviously this is going to move toward the northwest and will bring what they call torrential and heavy rains and very strong winds. Sorry, I said it backwards. To Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, all this weekend starting Friday. And okay, just from AccuWeather said that it could cause localized urban flooding, even in New Orleans, and that waterspouts could form and move toward the coast along the area's beaches. So, well, everyone who lives in these areas where this group of storms is approaching needs to pay close attention to what the authorities are asking them to do. In case there are flash floods, or if you live in areas that tend to flood, you should be ready to leave if this happens, right?
Exactly. Well, to begin with, it's not a hurricane, right? But these are the first storms that are starting to show up with a lot of strength. So keep an eye on that. Greetings to Emma, Liz, Lazar, Tapatia Plus, and the whole community that's joining us. Thank you very much. MT, how are you? How have you been? And thank you to the community that subscribed. Greetings, Angelo. How have you been? Great, let's get to the alert. Isn't just a bit more on this topic because, well, thank you, friends. Thank you. In fact, look, right now, there are already intense storms happening toward Texas, just so you can be careful. And look, I want you to see what the storms are like in Mexico, just to give us an idea. All of Mexico, it's almost all of Mexico except the northwest, right? Over there, where Mercedes is, where Estrelita is. Gires, look, Gires is around there. You can see here, look, Gires is over there making the rounds. But at first, it's most of the country, right? For you all, right? Hey, over there, I don't know, Francisco Arce or the whole community that's there. Thank you. Thank you for being here right now. Thank you. Thank you. In or with potential rain in the area. And it's very widespread. A while ago, it rained pretty hard around here, right where we are. We were lucky that the heavy rain started after we arrived, right? But, well, obviously that's how things are. The bursts of rain are very strong. That's why sometimes you see how they generate rain, how they create situations that are, well, complicated. Obviously, it's not, well, interesting, obviously, to keep following this issue. Look, yes. Well, if it's possible, I think I'm going to try to stay on top of it now. Because normally during hurricane season, we wait until the stronger phenomena start to be updating daily. I think it makes sense now, right? It's time to update daily. In fact, we've been doing it because that's what is required, let's say, by the number of phenomena happening right now. But let's expand it. Look, let's expand it towards the United States, just like you see towards the United States. Look at all the rain that's happening all the way up to Canada, throughout the central part, and soon towards the southeast of the United States. Pay attention to the Caribbean, which already has some rain. Right now, there is rain in some areas of Cuba, potential rain in the Dominican Republic, as well as throughout Central America, where it will be sporadic, but it will keep moving forward. Rain that from now to the next 15 days or throughout the first part of the month. The middle of the month is going to be super rainy, and it looks like it's going to stay that way for a good part of the month, right? Even for South America, we see that it continues up to a certain point. After that, look, it's calm. I mean, maybe a small part of Argentina, but in general, it's much calmer for the South at this time. Because, well, right now the phenomena are on this side, practically with summer approaching and with significant potential for rain. Let's move on to other important matters happening around the world. In Uganda, it has already been confirmed that cases are increasing. And look, we had already mentioned this. In general, right? So far, 360 cases have already been reported, right? Of people who have been, well, passing away, right? Let's say, right? It's 360.
163 confirmed cases of Ebola, 62 deaths in the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Okay, I mean, we're talking about just one province, right? There we're talking about, let's say in Congo, there were about 223 the last time we talked. So deaths, right, of these. Well, we have to see how many will be confirmed and all that. But at first, within Uganda, which we had already reported, I think we had about 10 cases. Now there are 60. One more is added, right? An extra one. But since the last time we reported, they've added about 5 or 6 more cases because it had been a while since we talked about Uganda, which is a very small outbreak compared to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Supposedly, in Uganda, they are paying much more attention and following the protocols more closely than in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where apparently they are, well, failing in all of this, right?
Yes, the issue, for example, with funerals is really, really bad, right? There are a lot of images that obviously we can't show here that are from the first funeral. And then people arrive there in full gear with the casket closed and they push them, open the casket, open it, the bag, so everyone can go see the body. And obviously, well, it's a very likely source of infection for these people.
And they're wearing full protective gear. They're cleaning. They risk their lives to protect the population. But even so, they're at risk because the families want to forcibly take the bodies. Well, it's a very tough subject. We've already talked about it. But the point is that in Uganda, more cases are being reported.
Exactly. This new case, the one today, the one that's being confirmed today, is actually a Congolese national. It's an imported case. The Ugandan Ministry of Health reported this in a brief statement today. It states that one of the infected, a man from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, has died in Kampala, the capital of Uganda. Meanwhile, there are still 13 patients hospitalized and 2 who have already been discharged.
Well, that's how things are. Just a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago, we talked about how they made public several cases that had been dealing with the problem with this strain of the Ebola virus, specifically. And they put them there so people can see that it is possible to recover. That obviously if the treatments are followed, it is possible to recover. Even though there isn't an official treatment, what they do is apply whatever is necessary according to the symptoms so that the person can survive. So it is possible to survive if certain protocols are followed. But obviously in this part of the world, there's a lot of chaos. A lot of chaos. These are regions that aren't even well connected. There are even conflicts between groups, basically paramilitaries.
And well, recently, right, in the Democratic Republic, one of these paramilitary groups arrived. And well, right now you can't enter that area this week.
Exactly. Well, let's move on to other important topics. There are challenges in the Middle East. Let's go there. Four Iranian oil tankers reportedly defied the United States naval blockade. And it's because, well, when they see that your position starts to weaken, when you have doubts, when you suddenly even you want to get on the good side of a leader whose father, wife and son you just eliminated, whose country you attacked. When you do these kinds of things, suddenly, well, it also starts to show a certain weakness, and the Iranians are understanding that. And now they give the order for 4 Iranian oil tankers to pass through despite the entire US blockade, because the US blockade hasn't ended. What happened? When? How was that?
The ships were the ones carrying the oil, It is estimated that they were carrying 7 million barrels of crude oil that were loaded on Hark Island, and they sailed with their identification system, that is, the transponder, turned off. And they also used tactics from the Iranian Shadow Fleet to, well, avoid the blockade they have there with the United States. And, well, this is the first time this has happened since April 15th, because the blockade started on April 15th, and no one has been able to leave or enter. But now, well, these ships are leaving, which are the Gilda 1, the Amber, the Sylvia 1, and the Happiness 1, which together were transporting these 7 million barrels of crude oil. And, well, the data was published on Thursday, and there are also satellite images where they tracked how the vessels moved through the area.
Yes.
And this actually happened on Monday. It's just that until today, well, it's being reported. Well,
Tremendous greetings. How are you, Big Angel? Everything was published on Monday plus today. Enormes saludos. Attend this challenge. Let's also go to other important points. Look, to begin with, today's water data is being reported. Important. Look, to begin with, changing something about the environment. But let me have this.
to say where these ships were going, since you already know they're headed to Malaysia and Singapore.
Well, that's the issue. Let's move on to other important topics. Still in the area, Hezbollah. Hezbollah attacked again after the rejection of an agreement that was simply made between Lebanon, the army, Israel, and the United States, right? But honestly, it's Hezbollah. He says, well, they didn't ask me, and obviously they're making their moves there. What's going on?
The group is Hezbollah, which we mentioned to you this morning, and again during the live we did from the car this afternoon. Well, they had rejected the last agreement that Israel negotiated with the Lebanese government, where the total withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon was demanded. And, well, today, immediately after this rejection, attacks began towards northern Israel, where, according to reports, at least 4 people lost their lives due to Israeli attacks, which were a response to Hezbollah's initial attacks.
Well, that's how things are with this radical group. A group that just doesn't want to. I mean, all the points that were discussed between Israel and Lebanon, they didn't accept any of them. The most important thing is for them to lay down their arms, but they refuse. They don't want to leave the area either. I mean, we know they just don't want to accept any of the terms. Basically, the conflict is going to continue, at least on their part. Israel already said there won't be any more. So if they attack them, they'll respond as well. So, well, things are going to keep getting more complicated in that area. And, well, on other topics, by the way, Nicoli Franco, Isaema Panterita, greetings and a big hug to Liz from here, from the community. A huge, huge hug, and I hope you're doing very well. By the way, right? Hey, Isa Ibarra, how have you been, Panterita? Is around. Well, for the whole community. Right now, as I was reading the comments, and obviously, well, in the link, Citorno, all right? Well, what was missing were the returns. The returns were missing in the environments. No, I think it already got cut off. Cool. Just to...
Don't be surprised, they were late, that's all.
One topic within these Hezbollah matters. And all that, there are conversations between the United States and Iran. No. But those conversations that were supposedly happening have stopped for a simple and straightforward reason. Hezbollah has rejected the truce. And well, remember, it's not just a theory, it's already known. They stopped. That Iran controls Hezbollah. I mean, they are the ones who give the orders on how Hezbollah operates. So they talk to them and tell them, well, keep attacking. So look at how paradoxical this is. Iran says, I can't negotiate because they're attacking Hezbollah. Right? And what does Hezbollah do when there's an effort to negotiate? They keep attacking. So obviously Israel is going to respond, and of course they're going to respond, so they respond, right? And they attack too, right? And things keep escalating, they keep escalating. And then everyone says, hey, that's enough, right? We need to stop. Okay, that's fine, that's perfect, we need to stop. In fact, we do need to stop. Of course we need to stop. And then they say, today we're going to negotiate with Iran. Iran says, okay, we'll negotiate, but only when this stops. It already stopped. Okay, it stopped now. They call, right? Keep attacking. Hezbollah attacks again. And they say, you're firing at Hezbollah. But that's likely since you keep telling them to attack. If Iran wanted to, if they wanted them to stop, they'd call Hezbollah and tell them to stop attacking. So what's happening is ridiculous. And it's ridiculous that they don't want to end it because Iran has already understood perfectly that it can keep putting on more pressure. How? What will the Iranians do? They're going to keep raising the bar every day, so to speak, right? Was it yesterday or earlier when they attacked the airport and the White?
Yesterday, Sunday, Monday.
Sunday, Monday. If they don't attack the airport, they attack whatever else comes to mind. They have been increasing the level of attacks, including attacks on a US base several times, by the way. That's why they asked Trump yesterday, what does a ceasefire mean to you? Seems like no one knows what a ceasefire means now. And so, well, he dodged the question by saying, no, well, a ceasefire depends on which country, right? You say because over there in the Middle East, he says, well, just don't shoot so much, right? That was the answer we were talking about and saw yesterday. Now, this is actually happening. In the end, it's because Iran not only wants to put pressure, it knows that, well, the World Cup is a priority right now, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I mean, you can't be at war with someone. What if there's an attack or something like that, right? It's a big security risk.
So because of that, they'll escalate the rhetoric and we'll see it. And the United States and Trump has been saying every day that he's running out of patience, right? That they're going to attack, that one of these days they're going to respond, and they haven't done it, right? They haven't done it. So that issue, well, sooner or later as well. I mean, there could be a reaction, right? Or, well, remember that Maduro was really confident, dancing and all that until at some point they pushed things too far, right? Strange. We really missed those 11-hour sessions, right? Honestly, or Bigwig. He was, let's say that's the kind of character. Well, let's say he's out of the picture now, right? But now, for example, Diaz-Canel, his answers are very institutional, right? They're just the same old standard lines, right? This character was quite unusual in that way. Moving on, let's discuss other important matters, specifically Diaz-Canel. Well, today Cuba is in the news because obviously we are seeing how things are happening. Or it was said today, just a moment ago. In fact, we did a little broadcast in the car about the topic. Donald Trump says, let's see. Finishing up with the Iranians, we're just going to briefly touch on Cuba. Right? To solve the situation, he says, even though everything has already collapsed, I mean, for him, the country's already collapsed from Trump's point of view. That's what he says and how he reacts to Diaz-Canel, right?
Exactly. He described it as aggressive and perverse that the United States, to begin with, imposed these new sanctions on him. Let's remember they sanctioned him, his wife, and family members. Castro said, the aggression, aggressiveness, and perversion of the Yankee government will clash with our determination to face the worst scenarios and resist the imperial onslaught. That is what he posted today.
What I said. The usual comment, very much in the usual style as it has always been. And that's the answer they give. While in reality, they're talking. There is negotiation. They are talking.
If not, why is the U.S. military there?
There is.
Yes, it's
very strange. What's happening in Cuba is odd. Publicly, they push this narrative as if they're clashing in public. But in reality, something is being discussed. The Cuban community will tell us what they think is happening. Internally, the situation is chaotic because there's no electricity, there are shortages of supplies, and there's no sign that this is going to change anytime soon. Honestly, that's also part of it. This is extremely complicated, right? Now let's move on to other important matters like how Francisco Arce has been doing.
Hi, Francisco.
Hello, everyone. And to the whole community that's joining, go ahead and leave your comments. Big greetings to Nova's dad, who says today is World Fertility Day. Hey, so the Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, has published a letter that he sent to Vladimir Putin. We've already talked about that. It's not that I'm going to repeat that topic, but I did want to mention it because now there's a response from Vladimir Putin to the letter. Just to give a quick summary, Zelensky said to, what's his name? Putin. He basically told him that they could meet in Turkey, or they could meet somewhere else, a Gulf country, or they could meet in another country, like Switzerland. Yes, I think it's good. It was a more or less neutral country to be able to talk and negotiate and put an end to this war. He said in the end, well, if the war can be brought to an end, then it can be brought to an end.
Well, I mean, if it's your war,
Since you're the one fighting it, it can end. Let's face each other and see. Let's see how it goes first, right? Zelensky invited him to negotiate face to face, and it's not the first time he's done it. And also, well, Putin rejects it as always. No, what happened?
exactly, he rejects a ceasefire with Ukraine and says that it's not possible. He says you can't negotiate peace and keep fighting at the same time. And to start negotiations, there's no need for a ceasefire. I mean, it's not the other way around. He says that for negotiations, they don't need to stop the attacks, which doesn't really make much sense. But that's how he has handled it in this war with Ukraine. And he claimed that Ukraine is the one interested in the truce. Due to the supposed Russian territorial advances on all fronts, it's something that, we've mentioned here that several organizations specialized in the topic of war, monitoring with satellite images and so on, have denied several times.
No, and I mean, the map that the generals give to Putin was leaked, and it's a completely fake map. I think that
I haven't given the information.
they're selling Putin a fantasy. The general is saying, we already have this town, and the town is actually without Russians, right? So obviously that's also an interesting topic. He lives in an alternate world.
Yes. In fact, he estimates that there are 2,500 square kilometers recently occupied by the Russian army, but I think it's really like 16, not actually that many.
No, I don't remember the amount, but we saw the number.
It's something like 16 kilometers in all of 2,000.
Well, regarding the progress of, let's say, the last year, basically it was, if I'm not mistaken, 15, 14 kilometers.
15 square kilometers. So they advanced about a block, maybe. But well, he says it's 2,500 square kilometers and 40,000 monthly Ukrainian casualties. That figure, well, obviously it's the figure they're given, right?
Of course, well, that's the typical way it's handled. Meanwhile, since we're talking about Russia, let's look at what's happening with NATO, because there's a significant deployment in that area. Hey, so there's a pretty strong deployment. Well, at least the biggest one that's been done in 2026. The maneuvers that NATO is carrying out are called Bay El Tops, and they're basically conducting a deployment exercise. The biggest exercise of the year, at least so far, with 6,000 soldiers, and in an area that's key because it's in the Baltic countries, right next to Russia, right?
Exactly. It's an exercise that's being carried out. The largest naval exercise is taking place in the Baltic Sea, where 6,000 soldiers are participating, as Pepe said, from 15 different countries. Just hearing that, there are more complex things, like just communicating, for example. And the maneuvers started from Gdynia in the north of Poland and covered the area from the Skagerrak Strait to the Gulf of Riga. The flagship is the USS Mount Whitney, which is a civilian command ship. It's 194 meters long and is usually assigned to the Mediterranean. There are also operations that focus on anti-submarine warfare, which, is Russia's strong suit, as well as amphibious operations and countermeasures against mines. That's the statement given by NATO.
Well, that's how it is. You see, I mean, movements, again, it's back, exercise after exercise after exercise. But now with the United States participating, and the United States, they have a very interesting situation, because on one hand, Trump gives the impression that he wants to distance himself from NATO, but in reality, he keeps making moves. He even offered nuclear weapons to some countries to extend the nuclear umbrella in the region. It's a topic that obviously I haven't seen before. Right now, it's a reaction from Russia on that topic, but I don't think they're going to like that news.
Exactly, but even though it sounds like a lot compared to last year, there is actually a reduction. And that's partly because the United States is not participating 100%. Last year, there were 50 ships. This year, there are 20 ships. Last year, there were 9,000 troops from 16 countries. Now there are only 6,000.
Well, there it is. That's the matter.
It's falling behind.
Let's move on to other matters, other important topics as well. What we're seeing here would be people who have been reporting a series of lights that have been appearing in the sky over Goiás. They're in Brazil. According to the reports, these lights appeared. What you see there is a tree. And behind the tree, you can see these lights. According to the reports, several people have been sharing images. Well, it's something curious at least, right? About some supposed lights. They've been reporting them for several days now. Lights like that on hills or in areas, let's say, kind of wooded, so to speak, where lights appear. A few days ago, there was even an intelligence report that requested information about these lights from one of the people who recorded them, right? If he could please give them more information so they could go and do an investigation. The intelligence people found it interesting. So, well, they must have seen something that seemed important to them. Maybe risky, right? I suppose, or at least worthy of an investigation. And look, if we observe there, you can see the tree. You can see the light behind the tree. I mean, I don't know how far away it is, because in the end, the video is very dark. And so far, all the videos I've seen are more or less like this. I mean, they're videos that are filmed in very dark areas. And yeah, the typical complaint is,
Why is it moving so much?
why does it matter? No, and that's not the worst part. I mean, it's just that you can't see well. Yeah, cell phones are pretty bad at recording at night. Honestly, they really lack a lot of technology in that area. This is the area. It's a super green area. It's basically in the middle of Brazil, between Minas Gerais and Mato Grosso, right? Far from the beach. Now, these are other areas of Brazil that are maybe less known. Where is it? The Brazilian capital itself, right? So, well, that's where Goiás is located, which is where this sighting happened. For now, I insist, there aren't many details. It's something that's still developing.
Could it be the same place as the video, the one we showed on Sunday?
That one, I think so. I mean, well, that's what I suppose, because it's been going around. That's what I'm saying. They sent that intelligence report there, right? These are ecological UFOs. As Adrian Gilberto from Spain says, these are UFOs, what are they called? Green, right? They're, the other day I was reading a story. I don't know if you've seen it. That's been going around. No, and one of those really weird stories, right? Very, very far-fetched. But in the end, look, there are a lot of stories that are incredibly simple, told to you by people from the town. And suddenly you say, well, in some of those, things are more bizarre and stranger than they seem. Look, for example, I remember a story they tell in Spain about a farmer, a man from the countryside. I don't know if he was a rancher or what, right? But what area was he in? But he was someone who lived on a farm, right? And he says, the man like this, he says an object arrived, a typical object like that, UFOs, right? A flying saucer. There was a person there. The person gets out wearing a really strange suit and asks if he can hand him a screwdriver. He brings him a lemonade and a screwdriver. He drinks the lemonade, grabs something with the screwdriver, gets in and leaves. He says thank you and something else, and then he leaves, right? Well, now I found another story, also about an older lady, also like that, from a small town, where she says that an object arrived. I think this was in England. An object arrived, and it asked her for a little diesel. Why does she say that? I don't know. Maybe because the lady thought it was for the UFO and it wasn't eco-friendly. And she puts diesel in it. Well, I don't know if she puts it in or not. She asks for diesel. She gets diesel and leaves. Maybe it was for something else. Maybe they drink diesel. I don't know. They do strange things. But the point is that suddenly, among all the stories, there are some that are just so absurd that all you can do is laugh, right? But, well, that's how things are, right? There's a bit of everything, isn't there? There are all kinds of stories. But when they tell them to you, I mean, you can tell from the way they say it. Even though all that sounds bizarre, right? But anyway, cheers to that. Mexico's big win against Serbia 5-1. They've gone 9 games without losing. Come on. And this time they're not doing so badly. He says, hey, that's really great. No.
Right? If they had asked the supercomputers in Mexico after the 5th match, it would have been great.
Yes, that's true, right? The supercomputers, yes, we have to ask them. We need to have access to the supercomputers to ask them several questions.
There, give them.
This is great. Right, Werner, big greetings to Marcela as well. How have you been? Oh. The United States Department of State is issuing another warning. This time, they're asking you not to travel under any circumstances to Iran, Iraq, Syria, Gaza, and Yemen. And I mean, well, just so you know, right? Like as if someone was thinking, I mean, let's go on vacation to Yemen. No. Well, I think, but anyway, the point is, that's what the State Department usually does, which is to publish the risk area specifically for Americans. But what's surprising about this message isn't that, because they're all countries located in very complex regions, but they also add Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Israel, the West Bank, Israel, by the way, the West Bank, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. And you really don't get us involved in the war, but on top of that, you tell them not to go and not to travel there. The warning for these last countries I just mentioned is a warning. It's a little less serious than the first one, which is a level 3, which is not a travel ban, but rather reconsider. Think about it. Really consider it. You should come to the World Cup because that's all that's left to say. But anyway, the thing is that this warning is issued, a security alert warning from the State Department, which has already been published on their own social media. So, well, stay alert. If anyone was thinking about taking a little trip over there, that's the warning that's being given right now. Now then, how are you, Liz? How are you, Panterita, Walter Osorio? How are you? It's great to see you. Greetings. They really went all out jumping in to say hello.
They missed Culiacan.
They skipped Culiacan. Not sure if they'll add it later.
It's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes they do add them, right? This time, well, no. They haven't put anything there, but yeah, they've already been on the warning list, you know? A warning from the United States to its people, its citizens. How are you, Mofe Mendez? Good evening. Good evening to the whole community. Let's move on to other matters. What else do we have here?
Well, we have the comment that Donald Trump made about the uranium, which you gave us a little preview. At the start of that same press conference you saw, Donald Trump appears to be falling asleep. He also went as far as to threaten to take over Iran's enriched uranium without even needing to make a deal. He said, we could get it right now. Why aren't they doing it? He says, I don't think they could stop us if we wanted to. If we wanted to, but there's no reason to do it. It's buried. And well, he assured, well, today he did get a bit more demanding with Iran. And he says that either they sign or the war resumes.
I mean, really, he got a bit more intense. You know, I think he's just tired of so much ambiguity. He doesn't even know what's going on anymore. Or, you know, I woke up feeling like a cop today.
Or like a bad...
Right? Basically, he wakes up in different moods, different kinds of things. He got more intense, not about that topic or that feeling, ambiguity.
It's not as concerning anymore. Honestly, whether Trump says this or that, right now, it doesn't even excite anyone anymore. But what really draws attention are the alerts issued by the IAEA today.
Today, well, they issued a warning.
I mean, the issue of Iran's enriched uranium is more dangerous because they have absolutely no information. They don't know if it has continued to be intensely enriched, right? In the end, we've shared this feeling here. It's already there, satellite ambiguity. You can see that they haven't even cleaned the entrance to some of these places. So they could already have much more enriched nuclear material right now.
Exactly. I mean, well, so he at least according to what they say, the IAEA says there's more concern. Let's put it that way. More concern. They're not just warning about seeing something strange. We don't even know where it is. And there's a lot of material.
Exactly. Today, the IAEA urgently called on Iran to allow it to resume inspections. They say they haven't been able to verify Iran's reserves since the 12-day war happened in June 2025. And they say that's been a serious cause for concern.
Of course. Yes. Well, that's how things are. Raul Sachs says here, Popocatépetl is acting up and it's angry, right? I mean, it's acting up today. We showed you the image earlier. I think it was this one, right? Where you can see this incandescence, right? Which was observed there by Webscan de Mexico. Also, I mean, don't think all that brightness was from the volcano. The brightness is because of the storm. But at the same time, there was incandescence from Popocatépetl. So yes, there was also some activity. Well, that too, look. There it is. That's part of that activity. Yes. It's very interesting. Hey, several solar storms are heading towards the planet. Look, here it is. And I recommend if you have Twitter or X, right? Well, follow the author Tamita Skop. She has worked for several of the US agencies in charge of all this topic. Besides, she collaborates with NASA, she collaborates with the Weather Channel, among other institutions, and channels over there in the United States, besides the fact that she has also written several books on the topic of solar storms. And on Twitter, she also usually posts. We, anyway, always address the topic from different sources, but she is one of the most serious ones on the subject. And she warns, she says, several solar storms are expected that haven't arrived yet. And there are 4 solar storms on the way.
Exactly. According to scientists, this week there were 4 solar flares that are heading toward Earth and that bring huge beams of energy and light and high-speed particles. And this could increase the likelihood that people, for example, in the United States and certain parts of Northern Europe will see the famous Northern Lights as it gets closer to the planet. In addition, the Space Weather Prediction Center, the National Weather Service, reported that this group of solar flares came from the sun a couple of days ago and they were expelled with a slight difference in time. Let's say there was a difference. I mean, all of them happened within a 24-hour period, right? And when they reach a certain point, what they predict is that these 4 will meet and combine to reach Earth. That's fine. I just didn't know that could happen.
I mean, 4 of them are headed this way.
4 of them are going to go, and at some point they're going to join together in a few hours, and there is a reasonable level of confidence that they will make it to Earth. However, it is noted that the intensity of the eruption and the extent of its possible impact on Earth are still uncertain. They are still not sure how strong this is going to be. We have to remember that scientists measure this on a scale from 1 to 5 from mild to extreme, and it is expected that this one will be somewhere in the middle. But that's just a forecast. Others say it could be strong or severe.
There you have it, right? I mean, that's part of what they're warning about. Not just the doctor, but also NOAA itself, right? And they're the ones in charge of monitoring how things are going. Anything else?
Yes, well, one of the flares, just so we get an idea, was classified as X1, with X being one of the largest and most intense.
Yes, it was one of those. Well, so it's expected. This is going to be arriving and we'll be watching it here, right? We will be warning or updating on how the situation is going. Let's move on to other matters. Let's go to the comments. How have you been? How are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us. Big greetings to the whole community. Who else is around here? Greetings to Salud, Sasha.
Wow, 4. Yes, 4. Well, actually, the information I have here is a bit outdated, but according to Dr. Tamita's update, it's already 4. So the sun is really active. Greetings to, it says Ait. It says that on a day like today, in 1982, Barcelona signed Diego Maradona for $10 million. A record amount of money for that time compared to the $222 million that PSG paid Barcelona for Neymar. It's nothing. Yes, no, it's nothing.
Well, yes, no. Now the amounts are impressive. That's how it is with soccer, boxing, certain sports. The level of payments being made has become exorbitant. Not for everyone, obviously, it's only for certain top ones, right? Who handle impressive amounts of income, right? Alicia says, how have you been? Greetings, hello. Beto Barba, greetings to you too. How have you been, Beto? To everyone, thank you. He says hi. What's this about Iran already having nuclear weapons? That has been rumored for some time now, but so far there is no evidence that this is the case. I suppose that if they had them, I suppose they would be showing them off and the issue would end with tremendous deterrence, but for now, no, not that we know of at least. He says, well, get ready for Tuesday with what Florentino is going to reveal. He says, what's up? What's up, Adrian? What do you think is going to happen with that? He says we have to listen to Noah. Greetings, greetings. He says, I'm making rice pudding. Ooh, nice. Now you're craving some for my relatives. Well, yes, of course.
How delicious. I love rice pudding, especially with lots of raisins.
With walnuts.
No, not with walnuts, with steps. Greetings to Susie Cuatro.
All right. You heard. Yes. I was listening to it with my oldest son. I downloaded her greatest hits album. There's one song you'll recognize. Really? Yes, there is. I'm not sure if it was downloaded, but I heard it several times today. So I think they listened to it.
Are we?
Yeah. It's like from a movie or something. We've seen it, but it's really good and fun. Honestly, I didn't know it. There's one there called Can. I don't know. I don't know what Can. That starts with some pretty interesting drums. Very different from the others I heard. I like that one too. And very good. Susie Cuatro, I didn't know her. No, I didn't know her, but her style is interesting. I don't know how to define it. Honestly, I haven't really looked into that part. Yeah, but yesterday they were saying it had a bit of punk, right? Well, I don't know if it's punk mixed with pop, with rock, it has a lot of interesting mixes in there. Yeah, exactly. Can, exactly. The drums they bring in at the beginning are really cool. And, well, we were there.
And about Sebas, Pepe, I was telling you that in Colombia we're hoping Abelardo wins. We don't want a left-wing government. Okay.
Greetings, Sebas. How have you been? He says, Pepe, he says, I saw a video on YouTube that's in Iran and it's at the beach and it shows the Strait of Hormuz from afar. I imagine it's Hormuz, right? He says, an immense row of lights that are low. Yes, we've seen several videos of it.
They come at night.
The little lights come out like this, really long. Yes.
Leonardo Pepe says, I think we're going to have an encounter with non-human beings before we find an honest politician. Ha ha ha. I bet on Polymarket. Yes, go ahead. Come on.
The bet is on.
He says, greetings to Raul Sachs, who asks if he doesn't have Bombyuk anymore. And the dad from New York says, Angelina Jolie's birthday, 51. And Tito Neves, 68.
Look, it's about Angelina Jolie. When was that? I haven't seen her movies in ages and don't remember. I don't remember it either.
A while since I've seen her movies. It's just that she suddenly focused more on being a director. But yeah, it's been quite some time, I think, since I have. Yes, she runs many businesses and is a mom. Well, yes, being a mom too. I don't know how many kids. Leonardo says, Daddy, the weather in Bolivia is really tough, says Leonardo.
Yeah? It's just that I'm going to check it.
Hello, Martin Gutierrez. How are you?
Greetings, Martin. Greetings, Leonardo. How have you been? Very good. Verderi says that Susie Cuatro is also a band from Guadalajara. So, and they put the 4. They call themselves Susi, but with an S and the number 4, right? Or 4. That's interesting. Just look at that.
This one says Angelina is the one that has the full range of children's skin tones, says Benji. Yes, it has everything.
It has the whole range.
Exactly.
Yes, 2 different types of Asians, Afro-mixed, Afro-Africans, really. Because they come directly from Africa. And well, their own people. They're missing Latinos. It doesn't have everything. Look, there it is. Greetings to Bartesa. Well, let's greet Isibarra too. And Wilgoff. How are you, Adasa? How is your...
Greetings, Adasa. Greetings to Mrs. Anita. Right?
Yes, Mrs. Anita. Greetings to Noctur's dad. Let's see if he has a little joke for us here. He says, we have a dad in Madrid, says Adrian Gilbert. Greetings to Adrian.
It's definitely noted. Well, I'll just download that album right now. Pat Benatar. I hope I'm saying it right.
Whose is it?
It is.
It's another group. Greetings to Madelia Fernandez. Thank you for the info.
Greetings, Madelia.
Greetings also, says Leonora Pepe, for the weather in Bolivia. I'm referring to the political and social climate. Yes, it's really intense. People are really fed up now, and a life has been lost. Today it was reported that a girl, I don't remember exactly, lost her life because she was undergoing chemotherapy treatment and couldn't make it. I mean, she couldn't get to the place and she had already gone many days without receiving her treatment. And unfortunately, she lost her life. This young girl was just a little one.
Four. And now she will come down.
And says the explosion in Puebla was terrible. I saw the video. Yes, it was impressive. He says that it was in some cisterns, and fortunately no, or if there were any injured, but not like it looked. I said, wow, that's not like last time. Yes, when it exploded in the
street.
Yes, well, it was terrifying, honestly. It says Angelina's children dropped the last name Pete. Yes, they've all dropped it. I mean, even though a lot of people said, no, she wasn't exaggerating. I don't know what... I mean, the truth is that Brad Pitt is very likable, right? You don't know what happened in the family. Taking away his last name says a lot, doesn't it? I think so. What do you think?
He manipulates very well.
No. I mean, no, if you love your dad, I mean, you don't get rid of him. Legally, that's your name. I mean, you'd have to be really crazy to
Who knows? I'm just having a snack. It's just that, I mean...
In the end, he really did admit that he had a problem with alcohol and marijuana, right? Yes. This greeting is from Araki Mon. He says, in Colombia, we're hoping that Ivan gets drunk and not the ones on the right. That's what Araki Mon says. Cheers. Cheers. And about Puebla, he says, nobody talks about the explosion of the tankers in Puebla. Terrible.
It's terrible. We've already discussed it. When did it happen? Yes, in the morning.
In the evening, yes. Leonardo Pepe says, did you see that France lost to Ivory Coast? And they lost their match in Spain. Also, those who were in the top 5 are losing. I hope Argentina wins on Saturday. Leonardo says, what if he loses? We're going to Mexico. Greetings to Rosalinda Morena. How are you? She says, good evening, Pepe, Astrid, and everyone. Yes.
Now they're going to remove it here.
She says, Pat Bennett, Beneto Benester. She's super famous. Greetings, really.
All right. I'll check it out. At first, it didn't ring a bell. But once I listen to the whole thing, well, I'll download it. I don't know, maybe the best songs or something like that. I think she has a lot of albums.
Or something albums?
Albums. It says, Dad, no, World Cup tips. The Azteca Stadium will become the only stadium in the world to have hosted 3 World Cup opening ceremonies. 1970, 1986, and 2026.
85, right? 85, 86, everyone, 6. 86. Yes, of course, right? Yes.
Yes.
So it's 70, right? 86, 286, 2026. Yes, the first one, yes. I mean...
I don't know. It says, greetings to Ofe. How are you, Ofe? Greetings. Sorry, Pepe. Spain tied against Iraq. Imagine how badly things are going against Iraq. That's crazy. They came here to play and did really well with the people. Greetings to Dad from No. It says Tim World Cup players. Ronaldo, Messi, and Ochoa will play their 6th World Cup. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Ochoa is basically just going almost as a backup because he's the 3rd goalkeeper. I mean, that would be it. Yeah, it would be the 3rd. I'm not sure. It would be strange if they put him in. Honestly, I mean, it's like... It's going to be like... It'll be
the rich one. Raul Sayan says they were stolen fuel tanker trucks.
Says, I was only 2 years old in 86 Sun. I remember that I was 4 years old. I remember I was 4, just about to turn 5. Yeah. But at 4 years old, I just remember seeing that we were at someone's house. I don't know, I think I was with a lady who used to take care of us sometimes. And
watching the World Cup?
While watching the World Cup, we had one of those old square TVs. Yes, small ones like this. And I saw that it was the Azteca and there was a lot of confetti and colors falling. I don't remember that. That's the only memory. And everyone was really excited. Tapatio says...
Right? The rivalry at that...
It was rivalry. All right.
Rivalry.
Tapatio says, I played against Pelé at the Jalisco Stadium in 86. In Gaiola, of course, but I saw him. I mean, greetings. Yes.
But it's really great. No, now seeing him... Well, it costs, I mean, seeing him, not Pele, but seeing, I don't know, this guy, what's his name, Ronaldo. I mean, seeing one of the greats right now, or Messi or someone like that. Yes, well, how much would it cost to see them? I mean, what do you think? 100,000 pesos or $10,000. I mean, that would be like 200,000, right? Something huge, right? I mean, yeah, it's pretty intense, honestly. It's exaggerated. The prices are absolutely outrageous. He says, how can we forget the hand of God, says Willie.
Well, Mateo says, Martin Gutierrez, I imagine being stuck on a ship all day without doing much and not knowing what's going to happen in the Strait of Hormuz, and it must be really frustrating.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. I was wondering how they get their food and who sends it to them, all that stuff, because like I said, it's been a long time since this started.
What happened in Houston, Raul? Please tell us.
There are problems in Houston.
If there are problems in Houston, and suggest checking immediately to find out.
Is happening. He says, just say chat, the whole team is just going for fun. Greetings. Greetings also to Edil C. Sendeño. Greetings,
Hope.
Greetings, yes, yes. Greetings also to Adrian Gires. We're from the last century, from the previous millennium. And he actually says they sell me tickets for the first game at the Azteca. Okay. The ticket goes from 1,150 to 25,000 pesos in case anyone is interested. For anyone with 25,000 pesos to spend, or 50 if they prefer not to.
25,000 pesos? Well, maybe not me, but maybe I know someone who might be interested. Maybe. So if you contact me, Verderi, maybe we can make the connection.
No, he's referring to Houston. We have a problem.
Yeah, okay. The phrase, of course. I was confused, like, what's happening in Houston?
I wrote it backwards here. Yes. Is there a problem? No, it's not a problem. It says, Pele came, he came in 70, but I wasn't born yet, says Wico. No, of course not.
Pele says, okay, yeah, well, yes, no. By the way, yes, I just remembered that my sister-in-law, right? She's going to the game.
Yes, but alone.
Yes. I mean, at the company where she works, they give them tickets. Very good company, right? I'm not going to say which one, but it's a good company, you know, giving out tickets. Not to everyone, obviously, right? But they do raffle tickets. So, well, she was lucky, you know, yeah, that's cool. They don't give you 2 tickets or anything.
You must if they haven't given it to you.
Well, you go with your coworkers, basically, right? And, well, you just go and come back. It's not like it's a vacation or anything, right? But, yeah, it's interesting. That's the cool thing about medium or big companies. At least they raffle something, right? I noticed they were also raffling off tickets to the media, which is common since the media often gets tickets. Or apps, the usual ones where you download the app and whatever, and they're going to give you a ticket. I mean, well, out of millions, maybe someone will get one, right? But yeah, he says on Sunday, stop the world, and I'm getting off here. Said a drunk guy, drunk woman, drunk man. No, he said drunk guy. A bunch of drunk guys with so much craziness. He says no, he's really drunk. Greetings, Domingo. How have you been? 1,000 euros, the ticket isn't worth it, says Adrian. Well, that's a lot. Yeah, of course. I mean, it's really crazy, he says. And besides, I mean, are you really going to see anything? The players look so tiny. I mean, it's not like, no, right? At least on TV, you see it in slow motion with replays. I mean, no, you get a little more into it.
Camera angle they use like that.
Come on, go ahead.
So we owe the ball in different positions. Yes, it was a penalty, or it wasn't a penalty. We can see all of that, exactly. And besides, you can eat really well at home.
Next Thursday, Mexico versus South Africa, World Cup opening.
Next Thursday?
It's almost here.
Let's see, today is 4, 5, 6.
It was 7 days.
Yes, it's 7 days.
Yes, no, it had appeared like that.
He says it accumulates, it transforms, and sooner or later they find a way to break free. He says, cheers, Jalala. How have you been, Jalala? How do you see the crypto situation? The drop is huge, but as you say, you just accumulate, right? I mean, this is the moment, especially for those who have an investment strategy, right?
Yes.
It's not about daily trading, but rather they say, oh, well, this investment strategy is going down. And what I was following, an Australian investor who is also a YouTuber, and it's really, really interesting because he always had strategies for downturns. And for every drop, you would put in a little bit, right? And for every drop, sometimes he made some really good calls. Yeah, sometimes when it dropped, let's say for hours, right? Suddenly something happens, you know? And it drops, I don't know how. And yeah, well, he had 3 buy orders for Bitcoin, let's say, because he was almost all about Bitcoin. And so all the orders would get executed. And he says, and on some occasions when I got to watch his channel, he would say, I mean, it would drop. The purchases would go through, especially suddenly with a lot of volatility and not much else. By the time morning came, he had already recovered 2 of the purchases. I mean, 2 of the purchases were already generating profits for him. But also sometimes he had others where
let's say he had the purchase order, let's say, yeah, 50,000, right? And it would reach 51,000. Let's say, I mean, it would get really close, just barely, but the order wouldn't go through because it didn't reach the price he had predicted, so to speak, right? And then, well, it would shoot up, and the next day it was at 65,000, whatever. So he already lost the, let's say the opportunity, right? Right. You don't always get it right. Even with technical analysis, sometimes it just doesn't work out. He says, yeah, I liked it. We'll watch it later. And well, what a thing. Or no.
Wait. It says here, well, there are phrases. It's not the pearls that make the necklace, but the thread that connects them. And it says it's better to annoy with the truth than to please with lies. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good point there.
Greetings to Gilbert and to those I'm with in Puebla, boycott Spain. And to Andrea, throw the firecracker at her at night so she can't sleep. And where to?
The drums.
You're not the promoter, right?
Yeah, he's angry. He's angry with the team.
He says, right? And it's a life experience. It's worth it for those who want it and desire it, he says, right?
Yes, totally. Yes. Or that's it, yes. I mean, if it is, how do they say? Investing in experiences, right? And yeah, if you can and you go for it, well, it's awesome, right? I mean, this is something truly unique.
She says, Jastri, counting with her fingers. That yes, I always use my fingers to count. I can't do it in my head. I don't know why, or I have to write it down. I lose track. That topic is hard for me, but it doesn't matter. I know the names of a lot of things.
Yeah, she has a memory for
picking up people. Yeah, greetings to, says Leonardo Pepe. He says, what do you think about SpaceX going public?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, it was highly anticipated. He had promised that he would never take the company public because he would lose control or something like that. But also,
he likes the idea of becoming a trillionaire.
Yeah. No, he will be. I mean, he definitely will be. I mean, with this, he's going to become, if he's already the richest person in the world, well, this takes it to another level. Honestly, it's incredible. Thank you so much, Big Sega. Thank you so much. He says, in this World Cup, let's go for the 500,000 Pepe live. That's it. Greetings. Cheers. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Let's see if we can at least get excited about reaching. I mean, I don't know when, honestly, but it would be awesome to reach 1 million subscribers. I don't know if it's possible, really. Sometimes it seems far away, right? Sometimes the channel grows a lot, and there are times when it grows. I mean, that's how it is with news channels, because unlike other types of channels that really focus a lot on making things to get subscribers, I mean, Mr. Whiskey already has all the subscribers in the world, and he's always doing events and things to get even more subscribers. And when you're doing that, or you're in the news, you can't really be doing events, or at least we haven't found the time for that, right? So it's tough. But yeah, well, hopefully those who haven't yet will be encouraged to subscribe to the channel. There are a lot of people, almost 40 or 50% of the community, who come to see us every day. They're not subscribed. I mean, that's what the charts show. So it says recurring users not subscribed, a very high percentage. I mean, it's a lot of people who I think watch us on TV. That's my theory. Either they watch us on TV or they just don't have Gmail or something and don't subscribe. So, well, please subscribe, right? It would be good. It says Pique la Masai. Exactly. Pique the mascot in 86. And I don't know which one was in 70. And right now there's not even a mascot, right? Yeah.
We have, I mean, each state has a different one. Here we have a lion for Nuevo León in Mexico City. They have an axolotl that they have. I don't remember. It says Jalala, a presidential family with crypto multi-billionaire businesses, a leader whose words move markets, suspicious operations before political announcements, and an automated financial system. Greetings, Jalala.
Greetings, Jalala. It says making international transfers easier in seconds. What is it? What are you talking about that there is before? Up here. Assets like XRP, XLM, Jabbar, Ondo, XDC, and others are competing to take pieces of the new infrastructure. Some aim to connect banks, others to tokenize bonds, stocks, and commodities. That's right. They're also very fast, aren't they? Very cheap when it comes to fees, for example. XRP doesn't charge you fees. I mean, these are things that are really interesting.
Look, yes, there are the mascots. Suku is a jaguar, which is from Mexico. Clutch is a bald eagle from the United States, and Maple is a moose from Canada.
Okay, so there are 331 for each country.
Every country has one, and in Mexico, each state does too.
But the one for the country, which one is it?
It's Sayu, which is a jaguar.
A jaguar. Okay, jaguar. And the United States?
The bald one, the classic.
That's the bald one.
The United States, Canada, a moose.
A moose. Okay, very classic too. Yes, classic. Great. Well, let's go.
There aren't a lot of animals here. There's just a big tail.
The official mascot is the jaguar. Thank you, Beto. Greetings to Alfonso, Becky, Phil, and California. How are you? Rubles, greetings to everyone. Hope you're well. Pantelita suggests a bell pepper, a good one, as the mascot.
What is a chile?
¿Qué es a chile? But it's a chile. It's a chile. Serrano. For me, it's a serrano chile.
Peña.
No, well, but they do look alike, don't
Yes, they look alike, but he's not thin.
The serrano pepper. It was like this spice.
Yes, exactly. That was the pepper. It's a pepper. I think it's a serrano pepper, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
No. Yeah, maybe. Before it was fluid.
Some days it felt like a serrano, others like a jalapeno.
Spicy. The chili was, here's the question. Someone had already asked it. So what?
Which chili was spicy? Let's see. A jalapeno. Yes, jalapeno. It's just the most recognized Mexican pepper. Yeah, that's right.
A Texan.
The jalapeno.
It's a great chili. It's a chili.
I'm aware.
I'm sure it was Spanish.
It's just that he lived in Mexico. Well, yes. Cheers, Gabriel Wilco. Cheers, Gabriel. Big cheers to the whole community. Take care. See you tomorrow. Here we are, early with information, broadcasting what's happening in the world. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. He says, right? And Piqué has been the best pet. He says, right? That's right, isn't it? Greetings. See you later.
See you later.
We interrupt your regular programming. Thank you for tuning into The Truth. This is Pepe. Live. The truth is intense.
Harsh. Here we analyze it. Global focus. Don't miss out. Connect to the channel. PP leave controlling the signal. Pepe and Astrid telling it like it is. Raw journalism. Here, respect is given. Turn on the alert. Don't lose track. Until next time. Yes, sir.
We're taking attendance.
Subscribe.